What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Eric and we are Ryden Dirty. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about my 2019 Evil Reckoning. Best bike I've ever ridden, hands down. Stay tuned and I'll tell you all about it. Going into this, understand that I'm not someone who knows a whole bunch about specs, geometry, any of that stuff. I'm the type of person that I'm just a regular guy. I get on a bike, I like the way it feels, that's what I ride. I get on that bike, I don't like the way it feels, I don't like it, I don't ride it. So I'm pretty basic about all this stuff. And so I feel like this is helpful for people who don't know much about bikes and you're just learning about bikes. Maybe my opinions might help you in finding what you want to ride, and if it does, cool, you know? That'd be totally awesome, you know. And also, what kind of stuff do you want to know about bikes? Leave a comment down below and let me know, and then I'll research it for you and then you can know about it. All right, well, let's dive in. Let's talk about my 2019 Evil Reckoning. I bought this bike probably about 4 or 5 months ago. I bought it off Jensen USA, and Jensen USA does these exclusive builds of certain frames, and they build the bikes up with the parts that they decide. But I do know that they build some awesome bikes. And the thing is about these bikes is that you get a ridiculous price for these. I don't know if you know anything about Evil bikes, but Evil bikes are very pricey. Most of the time, they're looking at about $6,000 to start. And for me, that's a little bit out of my price range. And, you know, if I'm gonna spend that much, I'm probably gonna buy an e-bike. To me, that is a better price point for an e-bike than just a regular mountain bike. For me personally, I don't like to spend more than $3,000 on any mountain bike. I like budget bikes as well, as you saw in other videos. But for me, $3,000 is like kind of my cap. I'm like, oh, that's rough. Now, if I was like to build a bike and slowly put parts on it, I'll spend a little bit more. But if I'm gonna buy a complete, I wanna spend $3,000 or less. With that being said, I did spend a little bit more on this bike. I spent $3,800 on this bike because that was the going price on Jensen USA. And I wanna tell you the story of how I even got into riding an Evil. The first time I ever rode an Evil was an actual Evil Reckoning, and we were out at a bike park in Flagstaff, and it's not like a downhill park, it's just like a jump park, and it has a couple of like cool things there. I had just got done building up my 2021 Vitas Escarp frame into a complete bike. I did spend a good amount of money on that because, you know, I built the frame exactly how I wanted it, all the way up to a complete. But I was really digging 27.5-inch bikes. I just had my Siskiyou D7 and I was digging the 27.5. Like that was for me, I was like, man, 27.5s are the way to go. They're great to jump, they're so nimble, you know, and I was super stoked on 27.5. I was like, sold, that's what I'm gonna do. 29ers, yeah, I'll do it for certain things, but I was sold on 27.5. And then I was hanging out with a good friend of mine and he brought his Evil Reckoning and he was like, here, ride my bike. And I was kind of like, I don't really, you know, care to ride it right now. I'm riding my brand new bike that I just built. So I went down a couple of the little jump lines there. I was just like confused, like so confused. I did not understand, why does this bike, being a 29er, feel like it's poppy, it jumps, way more nimble just to throw it around than my 27.5-inch bike that I had just built. And my buddy was like, hey, you know, this is how evil bikes feel. Most people will never understand it until you ride one. It was the most playful 29er I've ever put my leg over and rode. I had my Canyon Strive for a year and a half, and I was stuck on that being my favorite 29er, and I wasn't looking for another 29er. I was like kind of out of the market of even trying to search for a different 29er altogether, because I had my 27.5 and I had a 29er, and I was like, I have my playful bike and then I have my smashing down hills bike. At that point moving forward, in my head, I was like, man, I really want this bike. I'm gonna have to figure out how to find it. But I also didn't want to pay the high price tag. And that was the part where I was just like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. That's just so much money. I don't want to spend $6,000 on a mountain bike. It's just not my thing. You know, I love the sport, but I don't have that kind of money. I don't make that kind of money. Whenever I do buy a bike, I have to save my money just so I can get it. So I was like, oh, I don't know. Long story short, I found out about the Jensen build. I saw it online and it was only $3,800, and I was like, oh, that's such a good price. It's above what I want to spend, but how can I say no to something that's only $800 more than what I would normally spend? So I went home, went online, purchased it, and then I sold my Canyon Strive, and I didn't look back. So when I bought the bike and it finally got here, it came with a stock RockShox Yari fork at 160 millimeters of travel. And then the rear travel was 161 millimeters with the RockShox Monarch Plus. I was kind of like thinking about buying a coil, but I figured I was just gonna ride this air shock until I couldn't ride it anymore, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. But after riding it for like a couple of weeks, it literally like stopped working, the rear shock. That's my second RockShox rear shock that stopped working. I don't know, maybe I just have bad luck with air shocks in the rear. I have no idea, but man, that was my second one that blew on me. So I still have to ship it out. I haven't shipped it out yet. But I was just like, you know what? I want to get a coil anyway. This is the greatest excuse to go buy a coil. So what I did is I went and picked up a DVO Jade X coil and put it on the Evil, and man, I'm a coil guy from now on any bike that I'm gonna be jumping. Like coil hands down, just way to go. So it came stock with, you know, like I said, the 160 millimeters of travel. I changed it to 170 because I wanted my front end a little bit higher. And, you know, I did a fork upgrade that you saw in a couple videos back, and the fork upgrade was fantastic. I loved it. For me, I decided that I wanted to get a fork that was a little more sturdy. So I ended up going with a RockShox Zeb because I wanted something that was just a little bit more stiff. You know, I like to do some pretty fun downhills, some chunky stuff. That's the stuff I like to get into. I'm not worried about the weight. I wanted my bike to just be tough rather than light. So I went with one of those. That's at 180 millimeters, and it's a pretty sweet fork. The big thing about the Evil Reckoning is that people always say like big bikes can't climb. You know, and I'm not a great climber as it is. Like you know, I'm terrible. If I had a nice cross country bike, I could probably climb a lot better, but I don't feel like wasting the money on a bike just to climb because I like downhill and jumps more. And since I'm not a good climber, I put my absolute black oval chainring on this bike, and it actually climbs. I mean, a lot of people don't like where the seat position is on the Evil Reckoning. They say it's too far back. They want it to be a little bit more forward. For me, I don't know. As you can see from most of my videos, my whole reason for starting this channel was about jump progression. I want to learn how to jump. I want to learn how to hit doubles. I want to learn how to hit big jumps. I've never done any of that before this channel started, ever. Like I rode BMX and I did like skate parks, but I never did any big doubles ever. The only time I did a double once, I got really hurt and I vowed to never ride dirt jumps again, but here we are now. As you can see from these clips that, man, this bike jumps like nothing I've ever felt. In all honesty, this bike has given me the confidence that I never had before. Just for some reason, jumping this bike, I feel really comfortable. I can't explain it to you. You need to go out and ride one. You need to go out and rent one and try it for yourself. It's just insane. That Delta Link, which is the type of suspension that was made by Dave Weedle on this bike, it's just this crazy thing. So in my opinion on how this bike feels for me, this thing is a 29er that feels exactly like a 27.5 because of how playful the bike is. Like, you can pop off everything. It just wants to jump, and having that rear coil in the back, it makes it feel like you just have forever before you'll bottom it out. The bike came with decent components. A lot of the components were E13s. I got E13 wheels and I got the E13 stem. I did get a 50 millimeter E13 stem, the exact same stem that was already on it, just because that's what I like to ride. I feel a little bit more comfortable with that. I swapped out the bars, the seat, and the forks, and the rear shock. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to swap out, but I did that over a course of time because I already had plans to buy a Zeb fork. I already had plans to, you know, ooh, I hate you, bugs. You don't have to do that. I would say leave the bike stock. It's great stock. You know, the setup that it comes with is great. I just like colors and dumb things that don't really matter, just make me look way cooler than I really am. So that's kind of why I did all that stuff. It comes with a NX GX drivetrain. It's an NX crank with a GX derailleur and GX cassette and an NX shifter. I think it's just kind of a way to make it a little bit cheaper so you can get a better price for it, which I'm okay with because, you know, they all work. They're all good components. I like SRAM components. It's my top, what I'll go to if I can when it comes to like drivetrain. The brakes are the XT Dior Shimano brakes. At first, I wasn't sure if I was gonna keep those brakes because I've been riding SRAM brakes for so long and I really like the feel of those. And then when I actually got these brakes and used them, I was amazed at how much more I like those. Like the modulation on them is completely different than how SRAM brakes work. I like the way these are because they just, all of a sudden they bite and I like that. It's not like a really long pull. It's like they almost bite instantly and I love that. Now the big question is, should you go out and buy an Evil Reckoning? I'm not usually like that big of a fanboy on any bike really, but I will say that if the whole world could ride an Evil Reckoning, I'd be happy about it. I know a lot of you are gonna disagree with that, you know? I mean, everybody has their preference, but for me, I love their bikes. You know, I mean, I don't see myself really not having an Evil moving forward unless there's just this amazing new technology that comes out and it makes a bike even better. But I mean, I like them. I'm gonna have other bikes as well, but I'm always gonna probably try to keep an Evil Reckoning in the stable. All right, well, that was the review. If it was helpful, let me know. If it wasn't helpful, let me know. Either way, drop a comment. Let me know how you feel. If you can get an Evil Reckoning, get one. I think they're awesome bikes. If not, don't get one. And that'd be pretty much it. So start small, go huge. Thanks for watching.